Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't see you where it says audio. Oh, there it is. Look for you, some of my Mitch. Sucker. Ciao. Mm. All right.
Okay, audio good. Think
Yes, I can
audio's
hear you
good.
just fine.
Hey, Miss
Huzzah!
Doll.
Hey there.
How you
What is
doing?
happening? What's
Yeah,
going on, guys?
yeah. Same old, different day.
So we're live right now. Thanks
Are we?
everybody for coming in. Yep, we're live right now.
We've been live for 3 minutes and 20 some seconds, and I'm over here just fiddling around.
I thought
What's
I
up?
posted in chat. Honestly, I thought I had the audio on, and I
I'm
told
so
you I'm a newbie,
unprofessional.
bro. I'm so unprofessional. I got
That's
all
not
my video devices checking out the surface world. You know, I've been hearing some shit.
surface world. That's right. You're like in the water.
Yeah. I'm not even positive what my exact location is right now.
Why? Why? Because it's all oily. It's early.
It's I mean, it's just always dark down here for one. And two, it's like I just go with the flow, literally.
Literally.
Yep.
So we hey, first of all, hello to everybody in the chat. If y'all could do the amazing, entertaining, righteous Diverman a favor and post this out on all your social media right now.
Yeah,
Um,
please. We're gonna get
it would
into
be
it.
really really cool if you guys could do that. Um, I can't tell how many people's in the chat. Um, but so if somebody's talking, Diverman, you're gonna have to if they have something to say, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
be
I
able
can
to
see
read it.
chat.
Okay.
I can see chat. I should be good for checking that out and letting you guys know.
Yeah.
Um, I got the Fish Fam Discord up. I got a couple things popping over here.
Okay.
Like I said, I got all my screens over here, so I'm pretty tuned in right now.
How many screens you got up in there, man?
I got at least six. A couple more over here that you can't see, but that's more like dials, buttons, and knobs. Controls my pressure, weapon systems, and all that. You know, nothing I really
weapon,
want to be
weapon
showing to the public.
weapon systems?
Yeah, bro, you seen they got like giant octopus and squid and all types of enormous crabs and such down here. I got to protect this ship, dude.
That's cool. That's
And
cool. That's cool.
I'm not just chilling. It's work, you know.
This is my first time being on a paddle. Well, where Lady Argo?
Oh, she left.
That should be
Might have
back.
had some difficulties. I understand. I am very familiar with difficult technical difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
This is going on honestly a lot better than the last stream that I did already. So thank you
Yeah.
to Funk that has helped me out quite a bit getting this going. Shout
That's
out to
no problem.
Funk. If you guys haven't already tuned into Aquafunk, go check him out on YouTube and Instagram. He's fantastic. He's got a great channel out there. Always pumping out new content.
I try to. It's hard. It's hard. So
I see. I know now. Now I know how hard. This
yeah,
is crazy. It's tough.
it's like a job.
For sure, dude.
They need to pay me more. YouTube needs to pay me more. I need a raise from YouTube. For
Oh,
real.
you
For
get
real.
paid by YouTube? Oh
Huh?
man. I said people get paid to YouTube? That's a thing? I thought this was like a radio
You
broadcast
know
type.
what? They just up their thing to like 45%, bro.
Wow.
They take 45 cents out of every dollar.
Oh damn. That's some
Yeah.
crazy taxes.
Yeah, and then and I think I think I pay the taxes on the original dollar.
Right. Of course, because your government's got to take it too. I don't
Yeah.
got to pay anybody down here.
I gotta think about that. Do they take the taxes on the original dollar, or do they take it out after YouTube takes their 45? I want to know that.
Probably when you do your taxes or something, I would imagine.
No, but like if someone super chats me $1,
Mm-hmm.
well, YouTube is going to take 45 cents of that. But do I got to pay taxes on the original dollar?
Ooh, I think it's whatever hits your bank. I would imagine. I'm not too. Last time I dealt with a bank was like when you still had to have physical paper dollars to go in. I hear you could do it all on your phone, which I don't understand at all.
So Lady R just said she's gonna do some stuff. She'll be right back. She's probably sharing everything out.
Oh yeah, I see your comment back in a minute. It's cool.
So when she gets back, I guess we're gonna get into this.
Yeah, I think when she get back, here she comes right now. Let me see. Let me get her in here. Switch over. There she is.
Hi guys, sorry about that. It seemed like there was like this odd replaying through where there was some repetitive audio playing back and forth, so I just had to shut down and restart everything again.
Okay.
I know that life.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just going talking YouTube and my technical difficulties, the business of YouTube and such. It's all above my head. It's all above. It's all literally above my head because I live so deep underwater.
Oh well, sure, yeah, that's a given.
But yeah, I'm quite disappointed. I might even take one step and say furious about what y'all are doing up there at the surface world. I mean,
listen, it's the corporations, bro.
I know.
It's all people, man. It's all people.
I agree with Aqua.
How does that work?
It's all about that. I was watching the news related to this, and some of the things. Okay, so check this out. This is what I found funny. You know how this story really got broke? I mean, the train derailment. You know, it got this much play. You know how it really broke is when a reporter tried to ask the authorities, the officials regarding the derailment, questions about toxins and stuff. He got arrested. He didn't get kicked out. He got arrested. That's what really.
Oh,
so when you think about it, had he not got arrested, this would have took a back burner.
So yeah, so it would. I mean, I heard.
And I also
through the kelp vine.
Believe that people's outreach through. Yeah, I was just about to say social media has made a big difference as well.
Yeah, and you know that in that way, social media is a good thing, you know. But it's
you see people, absolutely.
You see people sticking their sticks because all right, they had a controlled burn. To me, that's a cop out. They didn't want to spend the money to actually get their elbow grease and hands dirty and spend money on cleanup. They burnt it. How does that make sense?
Right, and you know that's not the most. No,
my understanding of the chemicals being being a man of science and such, I know a little bit of the reasons of why burning it might be more effective. They were saying for explosion, to avoid an explosion. Funk, I agree. I don't think that was really truly the case, because the thing had already it had immediately burned. Like there was already fire, there was already leakage, like from the initial crash. Now, when these chemicals start to burn, though, they turn into different chemicals.
Worse
right?
Yeah, I think what is it? Vinyl chloride or something like that. I don't know the details.
Yes,
vinyl chloride. I believe when it's all types of nasty stuff, you know. But to my knowledge, there was like 20 hazardous waste containers. Like 5 of those were the vinyl chloride. That's the big one that they're talking about. And then when that burns and hits water molecules, it turns to hydrochloric acid, and that's what's big plumes all over the city. Somebody fact check me if I'm wrong on that. I mean, I get my facts from the starfish of the ocean and the fish that are coming down here and yipping at me through these little audio waves that I got to interpret. So forgive me.
Right.
I would have thought you held a conch up to your ear.
Well, I mean, the conch is nice for aesthetics, but it's not really effective. You know, I mean,
like
the big, yeah, there you go. It hasn't dropped yet. The new one hasn't dropped yet. We're waiting for a long time. But yeah, the big thing that I saw initially, and the only thing that I really heard was, you know, multiple, like 3,000, 4,000 fish turned up dead. That's just what was reported. That's not what's downstream unreported.
Right, and I believe that those numbers were just from the initial reaction to the chemicals actually getting in the water. You know, because once you actually have these chemicals into the water, they can bind with those water solubles essentially, and just become a different entity in and of itself, affecting you know, the groundwater and the environment as a whole in that nature. And granted, I'm not a chemist either, so I'm just kind of picking and choosing elements that I'm finding through fact checks. I've probably sourced at least 6, 7 different sources, and I'm just kind of skimming through my notes at the moment. So yeah, I'm happy to provide other info.
Yeah, do you have anything that like really stands out, Lady R, that you've pulled up that you know is like oh my god type of deal?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is absolutely asinine. Like you were saying earlier, just the initial reaction they took to choose to burn these chemicals off and just put them essentially through a ditch and dissipate it that way, I don't think was exactly the best strategy. Of course, their initial response is that, oh, well, we're afraid that these containers are going to explode and shrapnel's going to go everywhere and it's going to be a bigger problem. Yes, I agree that those things were already an issue, but as Diverman was mentioning earlier, we were already having off going on with the immediate flash off from the fire. So as far as other methods that they could have done to dissipate it more effectively, I'm sure that there probably were, but I'm not experienced in that field to specifically state those methods that would be more systematic.
I mean, it'd be nice if we had you know, some trustworthy media that we can kind of go to and really get some of these sources. Like I said, seen some independent stations. I do get certain programs down here. I myself have been watching Breaking Points. You know, they're yeah, well, I mean, I get signals here and there. It depends on where I'm at. If I'm down in the Mariana Trench, I really don't get much.
Well, yeah,
sometimes I have some. Yeah, you know, I play some old recordings. It gets a little choppy. If I'm over in the Gulf of Mexico, for example, like I get a pretty strong signal. You know, I think I might have seen you, Funk. You're down in Florida, right? I don't think you noticed.
I skinny dip. Yeah, I skinny dip. Yep, you saw me.
Oh yeah, I did. You know, unfortunately, you know, so little garden eel was poking out from somewhere. I wasn't sure what it was, but that makes sense now. Makes sense.
I guess I had that coming.
Yeah. But yeah, independent news sources are really the ones that are coming out and giving us the facts that we really need. You know, that's just one example that I had.
No, I agree with you there. I agree with you, you know, without trying to.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead, Aquafunk. You're fine.
No, I mean, and I agree with you with the independent with the news sources. You know, who do you know? You can't trust them, especially when these news sources are a business. So their job is to make money first and foremost. So it's kind of like, but not only the news sources, but the officials, the politicians, the governors and mayor, you can't believe them either because they want to downplay this because they don't want to be known as the guy who screwed up this or that or whatever. So, you know, you can't there was this one guy, I don't know if he was the mayor or the governor, and it's only been a week. It's only been a week. They have meters throughout the city of you know, trying to show toxins, but they all read 0, which I cannot believe because there's an odor in the air, and it's obvious odor, and they're saying, yeah, no, the water's fine to drink. Go ahead, drink it up.
Well, it's one of those things when you're talking about. Go ahead, lady. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just going to follow up on what Aquafunk was talking about through an article that I found on Newsweek that was only released a couple of days ago. And we actually had a hazardous material expert who was anonymously credited for this article that was mentioning that essentially, you know, this whole thing was nuked with chemicals so we could get a railroad open. You know, they're just trying to essentially try to you know, get business and industry back going. But yet in the meantime, we're looking at all of these issues that are happening, obviously, with all of these gases and chemicals that are being seeped into the soil. But I'm trying to find, let's see, because Funk was mentioning the regulations that were being given out. According to the article here, it specifically states, and I'm quoting verbatim, environmental regulators have been monitoring the air and drinking water around the site of the derailment and have so far said both remain unaffected by the spill. Okay. So, yeah, that doesn't sound exactly rational, does it? But meanwhile, though, in a statement, let's see. I'm just looking here. Okay. Yeah, the statement from the EPA said that the federal agency has assisted with the screenings of 396 homes, so almost 400 residences, and as of February 14th, with an additional 65 to be tested later on. Let me see here. And yeah,
I mean, luckily it's a small town too.
Right, which is good, but then we get all these other issues about the outlying areas. I actually have some information regarding some
well, it's all gonna if it's hitting those rivers and it's hitting that water column.
So, for instance,
you know,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say if it's hitting the rivers and it's hitting the water column, it's all going into the surrounding area, and we're talking about the effects of the immediate effects of people right now. I think what's going to be a bigger driver is what are the effects on the environment, like you're saying for the EPA. I saw something where it was like, and within 100 miles or something, there were like just a bunch of dead birds in a parking lot. There's foxes and stuff that are just like keeled over with their liver enzymes spiked up, cats that are dying, chickens that are dying, all these things. Like you probably can't grow food within a certain radius of that thing. And that's a problem, especially for a small town. And are we going to stop the production of what's currently there? Like, did they harvest within the last week? Are we going to know that? Is this information going to come out to a point where we can do something about it, or is it going to be a after effect of, oh yeah, by the way, the reason you have cancerous tumors is because you ate that salad that came from this grow op over in Ohio that was within a certain vicinity of where these chemicals were in the air, and it's all going to be affected. You know, and not even those immediate animals, but you're going to have, animals that are eating the affected animals and traveling even further, and they die off, and a bear gets to it and it dies off, and a crow eats it, and it goes into, this is going to be the time where all these animals are going to be coming from the south and traveling back north from their what do you call it, from the travels, getting the warmer weather and everything like that, the migrations patterns. So all this stuff is gonna start showing up, and I don't think we're really gonna see the true effects of this until later on. Now what I was also seeing is because of the actual chemical here, I was talking to some chemist friends and I was asking them, what on the scale of least deadly to most deadly, where does hydrochloric acid sit? And apparently it's not super deadly. It's like you have chlorine in your water. You have chlorine that filters water for human consumption and stuff. But what we're talking about is a lot more concentrated. And I think that might be what some of these EPA guys are saying is like, oh, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. We use chlorine all the time. It's totally safe. Don't worry. Yeah, but that's a different,
Mhm.
that's what, like a couple percentages in the water. You know what I mean? Now, we as fish people know that we don't even use tap
Right.
water in our aquariums because it'll kill our fish. Now, that concentration versus what's currently in these rivers and the water columns has got to be vastly greater, like leaps and bounds. I'm hearing that millions of pounds of this chemical are in the soil, in the water, in the rivers, now circulating through these animals that are spreading out as well. That is the big concern. Now, if it's a little tiny amount that, oh
Mhm.
yeah, don't worry about it, but this is definitely more dangerous than people are letting on. And then I don't think we're really going to have the facts on for realistically months. I think this is going to be another situation where like
Years.
Flint,
Oh,
Michigan,
no, I
how
agree.
maybe even years. Flint, Michigan was dealing with
Yes.
all these water problems with the lead. And
Yes.
do they even have new water pipes? It's been how long with that?
Right. Yeah, I know. I was actually just about to bring up the analogy to Flint as well, because not only were they having the lead poisoning issues, but there was Legionnaires bacteria that was found in that water, and therefore people were contracting Legionnaire's disease, and several people have died and or are now dealing with a condition that they wouldn't have otherwise had if they didn't have exposure to that. And again, we're talking about government officials not being responsible, but efficacy wise, it's affecting populations of people. And I was also going to make the analogy with Chernobyl as well. I mean, we're looking at
Yeah,
something that's been over 30, 40 years or so since Chernobyl has happened. And yes, life has rebounded, but clearly it's inhabitable for people still. And the
yeah.
wildlife that is there has been wildly affected. Pardon the use of the term of wild. That
I like
wasn't my
that though.
intention to be punny. But
Wildlife, wildly
but they've evolved this sort of mass perfusion where you have radioactive wolves in the areas and concentrations within the ground, the microbacilla bacterias and mushrooms, fungi, all of that stuff are completely different than what they would have been prior to the Chernobyl site as well. So I'm agreeing with you guys in that I believe that this isn't something we're going to know for at least a decade,
Yeah.
as far as the extreme impact. And I can tell you right now, through that Newsweek article in particular, there has been material that has been collected into several different bodies of water, like you were
Yeah.
saying. Sulphur Run, Leslie Run, Little
Yeah.
Beaver Creek, and the Ohio River are being monitored, but they have had exposures. And it doesn't help when the Ohio River has been a resource similar to what we were seeing in Flint, where the water resources are available for these people. And of course, the recommendation that they're giving to people is, well, drink bottled water as a precaution. Okay, well, that's only going to work for so long. People can't always afford bottled water, and then you're
Well,
contributing to plastic waste.
yeah.
And
You're not
then
going
on
to
top of
bathe in bottled water.
no,
It's
no, you're
you're
not.
not going to bathe your baby,
Well,
your infant in
No,
bottled water.
okay.
no.
That's
I'm,
preposterous.
I'm,
No, it
I'm.
is. And then they were going to go further on and say, oh, well, rely on private wells. Well,
Those
what do
wells are
you think is going
contaminated.
into that groundwater? Exactly. The
Well,
groundwater is going to leach from the soils, all of these different chemicals, and you're going to have, those problems. Again,
well.
I don't
The
understand how they think these advisements are
yeah.
wise.
The last thing I heard, as far as wells are concerned, is that
Hmm.
the city wells, which there were like 4 or 5 of them, that they're so deep that they're fine. But
Right.
residential wells that are not as deep, that they were
Hmm.
suggesting they drink bottled water. But um, that right there in itself is like, okay, so now this is seeping through what I think a well is like 30 feet.
Yeah, they're
Something
they're
like that, at
pretty.
least. I think.
That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
a
the
shallow well.
shallower ones are, yeah. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that my grandmother actually has a private well, and I believe it's 70 feet. Hers
Oh,
is
okay.
pretty deep.
So that's I think
but
I'm
on
out here in
average, I'd say
Florida
it's about
because
30 to 50.
yeah, I think out here in Florida because we're so to sea level, I think it's like 30s.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
listen, you got all these chemicals getting all the way down. Like it's gonna be a chain reaction, a domino effect for a long time, a long
I
time.
agree.
And you guys were bringing up on a side note, the company Norfolk the
I
train
think it's
station
Norfolk.
Yeah, Norfolk.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Norfolk Southern. I think what they
Mm-hmm.
offered up $25,000. Oops, my bad, Mia Cooper. Here's twenty
Oh,
five
oh
thousand
yeah,
dollars.
yeah. I know, I know. I
Oh,
think
what an insult!
I know their minimum offering per person was starting at 1,000. Last
Yeah,
I saw, it was just between 1 to 2,000, and it's like, how is that going to work as a
yeah,
form of compensation?
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, you can't
what
even
is?
use
Yeah.
$1,000 to get through, just your average rent. I
No,
mean,
you can't.
I don't see how this is, acceptable by any means.
I got a question and then a comment. Question is, does the Ohio River or any of the water sources does that drain into anything else? I'm
I
not I'm not
think I have a
familiar with
little bit of information about that. Let me see if I can find that.
it. The reason why I say that
Let's
is because
see.
last year out here in Florida in Tampa,
Okay.
there's a huge company in Florida called Mosaic. Now what Mosaic does is they
Mhm.
mine gypsum and
Yes.
phosphates mainly phosphates,
Right.
and the water that they use to mine these phosphates, they put them. Has anybody ever been to Florida and noticed that there's huge dugout ponds?
With like the big old reservoirs. It's not even
No,
reservoir, but it's like
they're like
runoff water
I don't know.
essentially.
They're size. I mean, they range in sizes, but there's all over Florida. There's dugout
I think it's
ponds,
like to
or
avoid
water
flooding
runoff.
in areas, it pools in
Yeah,
that
that's what it's
space.
for. So what Mosaic had done is they stored their water in a dugout pond, and all that phosphate rich, pollutant rich oil, all that crappy water they put in these ponds. Well, one of these ponds was
Mhm.
like really, really close to a main body of water, a river system. I forget the name. I think it was the Alafai, baby. I can't remember. At any rate,
Mhm.
that drains into the Gulf of Mexico, in Tampa Bay. And sure enough, guess what happened?
Right.
The thing started to give way. And all that phosphate just
Mhm.
ate, and all the red tide just killed
Red
fish.
tides,
Like you
yes.
could see
Yeah, red
dead
tide.
fish
Yeah.
everywhere. We drive across the
Ugh.
bridge, all you see is white dead fish all over the place. Um, and
Well,
Mhm.
and
that water has like no oxygen at that
yeah,
point because
Exactly.
right, all the algae
yeah.
blocks it off, and
Right.
it's consuming all these phosphates and growing out of control, and that's where you get them red tides. Yeah, it's terrible.
Right.
But here's my problem with the whole thing is that they're still doing it. The
Mhm.
city, the state, they know it's still happening, but because
Mhm.
it's such a huge moneymaker, I feel like it's getting swept under the rug because like, oh yeah, we can't really go at Mosaic too much because they got some money that we want as a politician,
Right.
and
Right.
it's just going to continue to happen. I mean,
Right.
even fish farming, because it's such a huge industry out here in Florida, and that's where the majority of the
Mm.
invasive species come from. Fish farms getting over flooded and
Oh,
getting into
yeah.
other work, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're gonna wag their fingers and blah blah blah, but actually do anything?
Mhm.
No, because it's about the almighty dollar. And I get it. People need jobs. I get it. But
Yeah.
the people at the top of the food chain, they need to be like, yo, you might have to sell that third home in Malibu. You might, I don't know, and take
Yeah.
care of the
No,
problem.
no, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that, Aquafunk. I agree
Yeah.
with you 100% on all of that. We're always going to find that, and not trying to get into politics here because this is not why we're here.
It's
But
hard not to, though.
the problem is that I know, I agree. The point is that politicians decide to put profit over actual environmental
Yeah.
impacts and human well-being. Because
Yep.
again, like you're saying, it's all about that almighty dollar. That's all they're
Hmm.
going to worry about. And if they can get some sort of incentive to skimp on something or
Yeah.
say, oh, we can capitalize
Yeah.
on this. And I have
Yeah.
backers that are part of all of these profitable industries, whether it's oil or gas or what you were saying
Hmm.
with mining the phosphates through Mosaic, all of these different entities. They're going to take full advantage of it. And they're not going to care what other people have to say or what the environment does because they're only living for today. They only care about
Yep.
how much money can I make today and not care so
Yep.
much about, well, what environment or what planet am I going to leave my grandchildren years and years down the road? They don't care about that. They think, oh, that's just their problem to figure out. But you know what? That's the problem with the environment is that, yes, the environment will recover, but it's not going to happen in the lifetime, that
No.
we will be on this planet.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to take affirmative action. But so I can just sideline back to your original question about the Ohio River and how
Yeah.
it's affected. I do have a source through Euronews.green that was actually published today, which had a timeline of subsequent events that have been happening since this occurred. And according to the statistics that they have here, they mentioned that over 5 million people rely on the Ohio River for drinking water, and claims have spread on social media that this could have been contaminated by the incident. So, in response,
Hmm.
some water companies, they're not specifying which water companies, have shut off their intakes or increased treatment processes as a precaution. Now, I'm not an expert when it comes to water processing, but I don't think that no matter how many times you're going to process that water, you're going to
Yeah.
be able to get rid of all of those compounds. Furthermore, they said that state and local agencies are conducting sampling throughout the Ohio River, so at various different points, and that the EPA says that contaminant amounts found so far don't pose a risk for drinking water, and the plume is continuing to be diluted as it moves further along. However, though, at a press conference, Ohio health state officials advised residents using private wells near the derailment to use bottled water. So, to answer your question, yes, it's being monitored, but also, yes, this is going to affect a lot of people. And I don't think that we're going to get all those contaminants out in a reasonable amount of time for people
No.
for
No.
sustainability.
One thing we haven't touched on here in regard to this whole water and how you're going to overcome it,
Hmm.
water bottles. Where are these
Yes,
water bottles going?
exactly.
They're
And
going
where
on
is
the
the water
streets.
coming
They're
from?
going in
Yeah.
the rivers. They're going in the canals. They're going through all these waterways. They're
Yes.
going to end up in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and they're going to
Hmm.
be falling down, getting eaten by turtles and whales and dolphins and fish. And that's where
Yes.
it's going to go.
No, I
This is
agree.
They're
just,
gonna
again,
break down.
contributing to all these things. And this is
Hmm.
where, it just really makes me furious when I'm
Oh, no, I
talking
agree
about
with you.
what's going on the surface. Like,
No, I
I, I,
agree with
I can
you.
only see what's happening from down below. And every time I try to come
Hmm.
up and take a peek, the world's on fire. A lot of times,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know, especially with the extreme fires and, all of these extreme scenarios that we've been in the last few years. I agree with you. And to
I
expand further on your bottled water argument, I also have to mention the fact that we are sourcing a lot of this quote unquote bottled water from natural springs, and they are being depleted at a rapid rate as well. The
Yeah.
Nestle company alone owns so many of these lucrative groups, and so does the Coca-Cola company through Dasani.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are relying on a lot of these natural resources that we're actually spending money on for natural
Yes.
clean water
Yeah.
that is depriving our natural environment and, the local residential people that live in those areas. So I don't understand how the whole bottled water solution is really going to help in the long term. And like you said, how many cases of bottled water do you have to heat on a stove in order to bathe
Yeah.
yourself?
I
That's
got.
that's
Hmm.
absolutely asinine. And
I,
then what about, making sure that you have enough drinking water not only for your if you have, multiple households and your pets and
yeah.
etc. I don't see the sustainability in that. And then like you were saying, it's about contributing to more waste. I just think that this is just some sort of giant hamster wheel that we're on in the
Yeah.
realm of logic, and we're not able to actually get off of it and come up with some logical deductions to better people's lives at this time.
Yeah. And I got a couple of points to make on everything. I think it's 5% of what we recycle actually gets recycled.
Yes.
Everything
Yes.
I rush out at 6 o'clock in the morning because I forgot to do it the night prior to get the recycle out to the street. Only 5% of that is actually getting recycled.
Right.
So what's that
Yeah.
really needs to be looked at. The other thing I wanted, you brought up that these corporations that are getting tax loopholes and all that is taking free resources, free water out the ground, or if they're paying for it, they're paying next to nothing out
Who
of
are
the
they paying?
ground
Mother Earth?
and
I agree.
selling it to us.
Mhm.
Water. That's like a God-given right. Water,
I know.
air, like I
I know.
just don't see how that, like, I want to be a fly in the room of someone who was selling this idea to a politician. What, like, really, what did nobody in that chain of decision making go, hold up, wait, we're talking about selling water? Like, why don't we just fix what we
Mhm.
got, But
Right.
uh,
No, I agree with you.
I heard there was some podcast with I think one of your smart guys up there, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and the question
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
posed. Listen, man, like 80% of this planet is water. Why? What's the problem? Can't we just take the salt out of it and drink it? Like, how does that work? And
Mhm.
that's essentially what I do down here. It's pretty simple. You do need quite a bit of infrastructure, but the answer that was given by Neil deGrasse Tyson was, it's all about the Benjamins.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's far
Exactly.
more lucrative to go and source it. You're going to ask an investor to set up this infrastructure to desalinate, and then the energy that it's going to cost to run that place. Now we're talking about using, so much electricity. How are you going to fund that? Is it coal? Is it natural gas? Is it from mining more minerals? It's going to be
Right.
all these things, but it's one of those things where, like, once it's in place, and if we can get some renewable energy, and if we can kind of like the options are here, options are available. Now the problem is it's not lucrative today. What is lucrative
Right.
today
Exactly.
is putting you under the thumb, taking your dollar, moving it around, buying a stock, watching that dollar multiply, and then saying, no, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, son. What's the problem
Mhm.
here?
Yeah. Agreed. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
so
And it's a really sad reality.
so okay. Recently, what was it, 2 years ago? Texas, Lady R, where are you from?
I'm in Washington State.
Okay, you watched it. Oh, you way up there. Okay, so
Yeah.
recently in Texas, they had a code snap that they was not prepared for. It was like 2 years
Yes.
ago,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
I'm well aware of it. Yeah.
yeah, come to find out that the company would raise rates to fix those issues
Hmm.
if they were to happen, but they didn't actually fix any of those issues. So when it came around, when the code came, they didn't have and it was more cost effective not to fix the issues ahead of time. It was better for them to just deal with the people losing their power and dying, or having their whole, freezing or whatever. It was just for the company, the cost benefits, you know what I mean? It outweighed it.
Oh no, I agree.
How
I agree.
any human person that was
Hmm.
standing at the train yard and looking at all these chemicals being put on a train, did somebody not go, what happens if what happens if something happens to this train?
Right.
Like,
Well, I believe there was
is
there
there any
was some
precaution?
regulations. There were some
There's got to be a
regulations that were
precaution.
regulations were pulled back
Hmm.
recently. And again, we're not going to pose this under the topic of who did it. It
Right.
was done.
Right. Yeah, it was
Um,
done.
the,
Yeah.
it was done. It was no one man, no one woman. It was the
No.
collective of this board of
Hmm.
people that are in charge here. Dozens of folks were in charge here. So regulations were stripped back. Then we had a
Right.
railway union strike. And then we had that strike get busted down, and they said, listen, we need time off. We're working 12, 16-hour days. We don't have days off or sick time. We're told to just, keep it moving. And one recent report that I had seen was from a railway worker was we're supposed to be doing 45 minutes or something like that on each container before it gets sent out. And he was saying it was more what was happening 90 seconds. 90 seconds. You can't do anything in 90 seconds in regard to safety.
No,
Not
you
a
can't.
single thing. And
No.
this is the result. When these big wigs get their money and they say, let's pinch a penny, it'll get to you an hour faster because we're gonna get rid of these mandates. Nothing ever really happens. Don't even worry about it. We'll get our dollar and we'll pay for. You know what? We make $1 billion. What's $100 million when we got $1 billion? What's going on, ABC? What's happening, Kenny?
Yeah, good day, Kenny.
What's up,
But
Kenny?
yeah,
I'm trying to
so
say
these
hi
guys,
to people in chat as we're talking as well.
Yeah.
thank you. And let me just give a quick shout out, Lady R. You're doing fantastic with popping out some research and some articles and some actual facts that we can kind of lay on. Most of this for me was emotion. I don't have a lot of the facts. I got my screens down here that I can kind of look at and adjust and kind of figure out a bird's eye view or a birdfish eye view of what's going on up there.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that you're able to, but one thing I'm kind of curious about, what kind of species are down there getting affected in Ohio, and see if you could find what are some local species up there that we can kind of name and do a little more research on.
They didn't specify specific species of fish.
There's a great resource.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So I was just going to say there's a great resource from NANFA, which is the North American Native Fish Association. It's fishmap.org. And if you go on that, you can literally type in Ohio River Basin for the watershed, and you can see all of the species that are in. Yeah, you can see all of the species of different fish that are in that river basin and that are native to that.
Oh, cool.
And it lists which ones are endangered and stuff. And so if there are any endangered or threatened species, like those are certainly going to be even more affected by the train wreck in Ohio and stuff.
Not only that, but
sure,
those
that's
fish
a
feed
given.
other animals. Those fish feed other animals.
Well,
raptors,
right, exactly.
And apex predators, and so what happens when are there bears out there in Ohio?
There's bears in most states, I believe.
Probably
in that area.
Probably brown
So what
bears.
happens when those bears that are normally eating fish go, you know what? There's no fish. I'm gonna go down to 113 Elmwood Drive and start. It's like, come on, guys. Somebody, it's like, okay. So here's the kicker, though. And I'm always playing devil's advocate all the time. Like, I love it. And we're saying, well, the media, yes. We're saying the politicians, yes. Corporations, yes. But if we would just not be lazy pieces of ish and be like, look, we're not dealing with your company no more, period. Like, could you imagine if we were unhappy with Amazon? Would anybody, we always talk about it. We always say, oh, Amazon is killing small business. But who is really not going to do Amazon Prime? Because I know I'm like, it's unfortunate. At the end of the day, we do hold all the power because we're the ones that elect these people. We pay the money to the corporations for their products, so we can do it. But there is no way you're going to get all of us to do it.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Everybody else to do it.
Right.
I don't understand how Amazon is so profitable.
Right.
There's not even any roads in that jungle. Like, it's so thick of a jungle in the Amazon. Like, how are they really even going to get? How does this product get to your house?
Emus.
Yeah, magic.
Emus. Okay.
Emus. Yeah.
Maybe they import some emus.
Yes.
I guess that would make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah,
okay. Any
Amazon
emus in Ohio?
In the emu import business.
Big time. Black market.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So again,
Always
I've been away for too long.
did want to just kind of
It's that
back to it,
Blackwater
and
market.
yes. I did want to just circumvent back to what we were talking about with the native fish species. And while I'm still trying to pinpoint all of that information, Kenny, I can specify that we had at least 3,500 small species of fish, or, well, the small fish themselves, across a 7.5-mile radius of streams as of February 7th that were killed due to this chemical spill.
7.5
And I
miles.
also can tell you that right. Yeah, 7.5 miles worth of streamline had dead fish, 3,500 fish that they could account for. And according to one article that I found that was through a syndicated news network through NBC, there was a biologist with the last name of Mertz, Mertz, that said that the deaths involved 12 species of fish, none of them being threatened or endangered, which is good in that respect. But my argumentation further down the line, though, is that you're going to deplete a local population of otherwise non-threatened or injured species, and are we going to be affecting those species in the long term? And again, we get back to the conversation. If this is just going to go through all of their natural waterways, are we going to find new threatened or endangered species because of this calamity?
Well, what's going to happen with that is these existing fish are dying. The remaining fish that are there, they're going to try to lay eggs that are going to be either infertile or not come to fruition. What are they going to eat? All that microfauna is wiped out and won't grow back for a significant amount of time. All these things are I mean, I don't see anything realistically starting to grow back after something like this for probably a decade at least. It is my guess. You know what I mean? I'm not an expert here. Let me put that as a disclaimer. None of us are experts in the field here. We're not necessarily professors or anything like that. But I mean, using common sense of just putting 1 + 1 together and getting disaster for the foreseeable future here is, I mean, it's pretty clear that, again, anything that did survive is not going to be procreating. And if they are, by whatever miracle it is, those juvenile creatures are not going to be able to thrive by whatever means. They are going to get picked up by other predators very easily, who are then going to get sick from eating those survivors that are clearly tainted. And then those are going to continue to spread outwards as they see that this area is less and less inhabitable, and that's just going to spread.
And
not only that, like the Ohio River drainage, Ohio River drainage drains down into the Tennessee River drainage, which in Tennessee there are quite a few endangered species of native fish that will likely be affected in the long run from all of this.
And real fast, I have to make a comment on you saying that none of us are experts, and I never take anything from what people say. I've never been that guy, and it's funny because we're fish keepers here, right? So when people start saying these, it's no big deal. Well, yeah, it would have been a big deal in my tank, so I can't see how it's even a little bit. By being fish keepers, we have understanding of nature and biological systems and chemicals. I mean, just being a fish keeper, you're a geologist, you're a oceanographer, you're a zoologist, you're all these things that you're practicing every day. So yeah, we're not experts, but we do have we live the experience of environmental conservation and the possibilities of what could go wrong in our aquariums. So I just think it's interesting, that
absolutely,
fish keeping is just that little goofy thing. Well, no, it kind of leads into a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's an excellent point, Aquafunk, because what we're doing is essentially controlling these animals, because it's not just a lot of us are not just fish keepers, reptile keepers, amphibian keepers, keeping turtles and axolotls and wildly exotic creatures, farmers, growing aquatic plants, or just, using it for aquaponics. Like, we're educated educated folk. It's not like we're just Joe Schmo off the street doesn't know anything about fish.
Yeah, and it's not just book education; it's practical, practical hands-on education that we're getting on this. We make mistakes and stuff like that, so we could imagine the devastation. And when we'll call a spade when they on TV saying, go ahead, you can drink the water. Hell, you drink the damn water. How about that? You right now, go ahead to the faucet, stick your face up to that faucet and drink.
Well, again, I don't really, when we're talking about human consumption, I think honestly the humans are the least of our worries in this scenario, because again, it sounds like the chlorine is the hydrochloric. It doesn't sound like it's going to be as big of a deal as like some people are saying, oh my God, this is the next Fukushima or Chernobyl. And I don't think it's that. And I get your point of like, listen, it's still bad.
I feel you. That's what I'm not saying it's not. I agree with you. So what I'm saying is when they feed us this BS, and try to prove how safe it is, how they try to prove how safe it is. And come on now. No, I'm not
definitely. Definitely not safe. I wouldn't say. Oh yeah, it's the same. It's the same as if you come into the fish store with your tank water, and you got spiked high nitrates. A little bit of ammonia, and algae out the yin yang. You say, oh, I've been keeping discus in my tank, and I got high nitrates myself. You should be fine. Well, that's simply not true. Just because you have this experience where it should be fine, like things adapt. And it's not going to be the case where you can adapt quickly. East Palestine, I think it is.
Yeah, East Palestine. Just put in Palestine, Ohio. It kept coming up Palestine, not necessarily East. Did you see the clip of where people were sticking a stick in the, because apparently they burnt it off the water, LA Chemicals, they burned off the surface water, but they would stick a stick in the mud and it just a rainbow came up out of the mud. And if you guys watch Father Fish, and and he's all about that deep substrate and how much, which I've done it before, and you can see how much that substrate adds or impacts the entire ecosystem of that aquarium.
The anaerobic bacteria.
Yeah. So you have all these chemicals and it's like it's all in there. It's you hit the stick. Literally, they did like this with a stick, and it was just rainbows, just bloop, 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 all over the place.
The chemicals fall like licking up the stick.
And that doesn't even go into the consequences that these. Yeah, we're not even talking about what they can pose, in the long term as well. What these chemicals are actually made out of, and I mean, I have all of the details here for each.
You do? Well, let me ask you real fast, Lady R. You know how you know how the plastic bottles over time turn into microplastics? What are these chemicals? What is their lifespan?
I do not have those exact numbers in front of me, but I can tell you that, yes, Kenny is right. They last thousands of years. In fact, let me recommend a really good documentary for you guys to watch. I am a PBS Frontline junkie. I am confessed with that, and I will not be ashamed by that at all. But
don't
watch Plastic Wars. It came out in 2020, and not only does it talk about the longevity of microplastics, but it also talks about why certain things are not recyclable, like you were mentioning earlier, with only 5% of recyclable plastics actually being sustainably used. A very fascinating,
Funk, what is that?
Disheartening documentary.
Funk, what's that? What do you have in your hand?
Look, if you find this, just bring it back to me, all right?
Funk?
Yes.
Funk. We're going to have a talk later, bro. I drink exclusively from my Starfish Bucks coffee cup. Okay.
I can put my name on it. You just bring it back to me when you find it, all right? Out there in the
I better say, you know what's really cool though? I've seen people use recycle. you take those bottles, and I've seen people where they cut cut it into ribbon somehow, and then they use that plastic for 3D printed materials. Like that's the kind of innovation that I love to see.
Yeah.
And the types of when you're talking about plastic that breaks
Exactly.
down,
I
and we're
agree.
talking about, the Great Pacific garbage patch, just because that's the most well-known source of plastic. It's like what, miles in more than a mile radius out in the
Size
ocean
of
is
Texas.
just circling. It's a size, yeah,
Size of
ridiculous.
Texas.
Ridiculous. So the problem is not just like, hey, we got to stop the plastic from going out. There's plastic already out there, and the problem becomes, as it continues to decay, it becomes smaller and smaller pieces, which then go and become edible to creatures that are smaller and smaller, and then that again, it's all going to start to cycle. That material starts falling deeper and deeper into the ocean. There's no reason we should be finding pieces of plastic down in the Mariana Trench, but they are down there. They are down there.
Right.
And it's preposterous to think that we can do nothing to stop this. I think it's Blue Ocean or Blue Planet, the guys that have the Interceptor 1, 2, and 3. They're doing a really
Yes.
great job of taking, I think they hit 1 million kilos of plastic and trash removed from the ocean just last year. They're doing an amazing job. Why are people not investing in those programs? Why are people not investing in getting dozens of those systems out there? Have you heard of this?
I agree.
Yeah, so there was this kid.
Yes,
I think
am very familiar with it.
Yeah.
he's if find out what the actual company name is, because I'd love to give them a shout out so that people can learn more about it. But essentially, it was a young guy, college student. He I think he got a grant or something. He had an idea. He started doing TED Talks. He did a crowdfunding. He raised some money and he built this first unit. They tested it out on some rivers with great success, and now I think they got up to, I think there's 9 units that they have out in the ocean, and you just see them filling giant containers, like shipping containers filled with plastic that they're taking out of the ocean. They've removed literally a recorded 1 million kilos of plastic out of the ocean. Now, again, if we can get dozens of those things out there, because that's what it's going to take, to do anything
It's
relevant.
remarkable.
And
We start
Yeah.
with that. We got to get that plastic out, because the longer it stays out there, the more deadly it becomes. And then you can start thinking about, simultaneously thinking about, doing something with the plastic that is here. All these cans and bottles that we got. There's got to be a more renewable or biodegradable version of something that, like, okay, you bring it to this place, and they break it down, they reuse it, they turn it into a cup or a bracelet or whatever item, glasses, something.
I got it, dude. Every time you go to
Right.
the restaurant, like McDonald's or Burger King, and you order a drink, instead of a cup, they baby bird it to you.
Ideally, yeah.
Just spit
More
it in your mouth.
community. It increases community, yeah.
But
I don't want to straw this. Just spit my drink in my mouth for me.
So check this out.
Simple
So
solutions.
here's ultimately the problem that I see with that. Okay, so the Great Pacific Trash Dump Heap, whatever you want to call it, it's in international waters, right? So
Yeah.
who's going to do it?
Mhm.
That's been part of the problem, is the fact that it's in international waters. No
who's gonna do
specific
it?
country wants to tackle that issue.
Let's say America says, okay, we're going to tackle this Pacific trash heap. It's coming out of taxpayers' money. Now it's political. Everything ends up being political, and then we end up fighting, talking crap to each other, and then the subject just goes away. It just disappears. And it's just
Well,
ridiculous.
I believe there was, I think just last year, and I talked with, I think her name is Shelby Thomas from the Thousand Mermaids Project. Aquafunk, they're actually they had a outcropping of artificial reefs out in Hollywood, Florida. You should go check them out. Yeah, you can go. It's basically like they go out and have these artificial reefs outcrop there, and then they put coral onto it, and it helps with the erosion control. It helps with storm waters, and obviously grows the reef. it obviously brings back more life to those reefs. But I saw that I checked out her Instagram on 1,000 Mermaids Project. She was at a UN meeting with like Jason Momoa from Aquaman. I don't know why they didn't invite me, but anyways, they were out there talking about. I mean, well, let me see if I can turn some of these knobs to get this thing to pump up a little more. The air pressure's down, but anyways, they had a United Nations meeting where I believe this was the first one where the topic was plastic in the oceans, was ocean conservation. And more and more countries are starting to have this initiative of let's get together and solve this because of exactly what you're saying. No one nation wants to say, listen, we're going to foot the bill and the rest of the world is going to be able to benefit from it. But what does that mean for us? And it's a very selfish mentality that a lot of these people have. Now, again,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense for humans to be scarce with their resources. However, when you got the top 1% of all humans with 90% or more of all the funds and resources, it starts to make you wonder, like, okay, did we need a yacht that you had to take a bridge down to get through so you could have a big party? Or could we have spent that money to build 5 interceptors to take out the plastic from the ocean? Now, which one do you think would have been a better contribution to the world as a whole? Do you think that someone like Jeff Bezos would have got more clout, more funding, more appreciation and respect if he had a bigger party boat, or if he built 5 of the world's most powerful plastic eating machines that the human race has ever seen? I think the answer is pretty obvious.
It still comes down to the almighty dollar, bro. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to.
Unfortunately, that's what it comes down to.
And as long as we keep paying for it, as long as we keep buying Jeff Bezos, stuff, he's gonna keep making it. He's gonna keep making it. He's gonna keep selling it. He's gonna keep buying it from countries that don't have no regulations whatsoever, adding to the problem. That's just, I'm I'm mad. I want something to be done about it. I want somebody else to do something about it. You know what I mean? That's the American way.
Agreed.
I want somebody to do something, not me, but somebody.
This is how we start, okay? The people watching, Funk, Lady R, Kenny, everybody watching here, anybody that's going to watch in the future, all your friends, all your family, y'all go to the beach every now and again, right? You see some plastic, some trash on the ground.
Yeah, pick it up.
It may not be your trash, but I challenge you every time. It may be not the beach, maybe it's the park. Because you know what? The park, when it rains, there's probably a storm drain. And you know what? This past Halloween, I came and visited a friend, and the day after, there was candy wrappers all over the park, all over the streets, all over the storm drains, and those pieces of plastic that were holding that delicious candy were going right to the sewers and going right to the waterways. I challenge you, anytime you visit a public area, go and pick up a bag of trash. Bring if you got a bread bag, if you got a old shopping bag, something that you can just toss out when you're done. Bring a pair of gloves with you. Go and grab a box of gloves from Home Depot or CVS or whatever. Grab yourself a pair of gloves, because I don't want you to get your hands dirty and everything like that and get sick. Grab yourself a pair of gloves and keep it in your car. You have yourself a couple plastic bags that you can recycle and not throw in the trash.
Exactly.
And pick up a bag full of trash every time you see it, because you see those trash barrels that are overflowing. You know what you could do? You could take some of that home and put it in your trash. You know what you can do? You can encourage somebody else. Say, hey man, I just saw you toss that over there. You want to give me a hand and get a couple of these pieces up? I see trash all the time. And I went snowboarding recently.
I get it.
I went snowboarding and I thought, yeah, bro, I'll share a video on the Instagram. I think I put it up there.
With
And
the helmet
yeah,
and
go check it
everything.
out. Yeah, bro, it was fun. It was great. Go
So
check it out.
okay, real
And
fast.
it's
I
funny
actually
because like,
go ahead, Kenny.
go ahead. I was
All
just
right,
gonna
so
say, like anytime I go out collecting, or I go
yeah,
out looking for driftwood and stuff, part of
yeah,
my backpack that I have with
yeah,
my nets and my photo tank and everything else in it is I carry a bunch of the 13-gallon biodegradable trash bags, and I always
Perfect.
pick up cans, bottles,
yeah,
anything, any trash in the area where I'm going to be looking for driftwood, or I'm just going out trying to sample what's in a local stream or something that
Right.
I just found. I always pick up any trash that I see, and all of this is part of the reason why I started my YouTube channel in the first place, is to promote habitat preservation by showing people the beautiful native fish that are maybe in your own backyard that most people don't even know about, or just look at them like,
yeah.
oh, there's just a bunch of minnows in this stream here. And if you look close at them, like a lot of these native species can rival some of the tropical species that are
Yeah.
already in the
Oh yeah.
hobby. But like,
Oh yeah.
people just overlook them completely and
I agree
disregard
with you.
our natural habitats and stuff. And this is kind of what has like fueled me to start my YouTube channel, is to try and promote habitat preservation and conservation through showing people the beautiful natives that we have in our own backyards.
Absolutely, Kenny. And that's
And I
that's exactly
applaud you for
what
that,
we're
Kenny.
what
I
we're
think
trying to
that
do.
that's something that we need more of.
I actually was gonna mention. I didn't know you did that, Kenny, but I was gonna mention a friend of mine, Florida man, and he goes native collecting all the time, and he comes back with trash bags
Mm.
because he's
Hmm.
out there and he's in the water up to his knees,
Yeah.
and he picks up trash. And I'm a jaded person. I'm a real jaded person. I ain't gonna lie to you. I feel and hey, I'm a, what? No, I am. I see human nature, and it just makes me just sad. Like I just don't have no faith in humanity.
Oh, I
I
get it.
feel like
Yeah, I get it.
if if there was a group of people out there with trash bags picking up trash, there's gonna be another group of people going, somebody will pick that up. Yeah, I'm like, yo, like
Yeah,
it's sad, but
Listen,
Oh my god, that
we do this until we outnumber those people and they become irrelevant. We
agreed.
got to be the role
Agreed.
models.
Right.
Listen, yeah, I
Agreed.
have very little faith in humanity, and that's why I live,
Absolutely.
hundreds of feet underwater. I don't like to associate with y'all up there. There's a select few that I actually enjoy.
just
Most of
come
them are
on.
here. One of them has a plastic bottle that he brought to our stream. I mean, I don't want to point any elbows,
I
but
wash it out. I wash it out. I've had
all
this
right,
for
you better.
14 years. I've had this
and
Aquafina
it's funny
bottle
because
for
That's commitment. That's
what
commitment,
Funk
Funk.
just described actually happened to
Definitely.
me in real life, because like the company I used to work for, I did masonry with them, but when we were slow in the masonry, we also had a landscaping division. So I would transfer over to landscaping, and I'd go out and help with the landscaping crew and shit. And part of that is picking up the litter on the sites that we're working on before we start mowing and line trimming and all that stuff. And there was one day I was
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
freaking at a Cumberland Farms, like a gas station, and where I'm going around picking up litter, and there's this guy sitting in his car, fucking eating his food that he had just bought from Cumberland Farms, and it just tosses his trash out right in front of me, out of his window onto the ground, like looking at me. And I swear to you,
Ugh.
I almost
Ugh.
got into a fight with this guy because of like how pissed off I got. And he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "You can't fucking throw that in the trash." And he's like, "Oh, I mean, you're picking up trash right here. So what's the big deal?" I'm like, I'm picking up trash because of people
Ugh.
like you that just
yeah,
disregard, the
yeah,
fucking world, and want to be scum and just
Agreed.
toss your trash out on the ground here. And like I got so heated, I
No,
had to
I know.
take a
I get
20
it.
minute break and walk off the job
There's
yeah,
for a few minutes, because
there's too many of those
I almost
people.
ripped this
There's too
guy
many
out
of
of
those
his car.
people. we need more Kennys. We need more Lady R's. We need more Funks. We need more Diverman. We need to get this community to expand, and we need to be proud of what we do and encourage others. When I was a young diver boy, I was always, don't be a litter bug. That stuck with me. That stuff, those simple things that we can raise
Oh
our
yeah.
children to say, don't be that guy. It starts with us. It starts with us, and if it doesn't, if you don't take
Agreed.
on that role, no one else will, and that is just going to continue the cycle. So I understand if there's a jaded
Mhm.
feeling towards it, and you're not the only one. I guarantee it. We have to rise. We must rise. It's not an option. It's not an option. I'm not going to
No.
sit here and pretend like, oh, it's okay, somebody else will get it. No, I'm coming up to the surface after so long, and it's not because I'm here to say hi and be your buddy. It's because if you don't continue to clean up this trash, I'm gonna drag you down with me, and I'm pretty sure you don't have a helmet like I do. That reaction that you got, Funk, that's exactly the reaction you should have. And everybody else that does not have the kind of respect
Right.
for our planet and our oceans, I'm gonna see you. I'm looking at you, viewer. If you're not out here picking up your trash on the beach or at the park, I'm coming after you. And the
Like
next time we meet, it's not gonna be so friendly. Okay?
a
I'm
kraken.
sick of it. Like a kraken. I'm on you, like a great white.
No.
All
And,
right? I'm
Agreed.
and
done with the nice guy.
so
I'm gonna come
so
up beside you like a spider monkey.
so check this. Like we're over here, and
I'm all hopped up
we
on Mountain Dew, bro.
we feel some type of way because we know, because of our hobby. We know what the possibilities are. A lot of things don't matter to people unless it affects them. They have experience in it. A lot of these kids growing up on Xbox and YouTube, they don't do anything with nature. They don't even. I mean, shoot. I remember when I was
Mhm.
a kid, everybody had a pet. Now there's no big thing for them. Nah, I ain't no pet. Take care of a pet. you know. But until people have experience dealing with natural processes, nature, and all that,
Mhm.
it's never gonna sink in why that's bad and how what they're doing affects. So everybody should get a fish tank in the world.
and and that's
I mean,
and that's
Agreed to
why it's
that.
our
Yeah.
that's why it's our job to try to find those connections between people who might
yeah,
might not
yeah,
see the
yeah,
reason, and
yeah,
show them, like, you don't think this affects you, but this is why it does affect you, and you
yeah.
might not
Right.
realize it.
You don't realize it. We realize it every day when we look at our tanks of all the possibilities, But because they don't
Yeah.
experience to have those, and a lot of my channel is for that because uh there's a lot where I grew up, in the projects and poverty or whatever. Um, we didn't have aquariums in our home, so we didn't think about nature. We didn't think about, the dangers of throwing trash in the on the ground because you're
Hmm.
you're in the street, you're in the city. How could this matter? Well, it gets into the sewer, it gets into drainages, it overflows, it ends up in so you don't think about that, but
Yeah, it's a
being
snowball effect.
yes,
Right.
but until you have an aquarium or take care of any type of livestock or do anything with the land, it's a non-issue for a lot of people. They don't think it
And
matters. Just
Right.
like you were
No, I
saying,
agree.
Lady R, that eventually the earth could heal itself. It will. It's done it many, many times throughout history. But we're not going to be
Right.
alive to see it because it takes so
right.
long. So it takes what? How many years? I ain't even gonna be there. I don't care. It's just a non-issue for a lot of people.
In regard to what you're saying, Funk,
Exactly. They like to pass it off onto others.
with being in the cities and the inner cities, and again, I grew up in the same kind of spot until I ventured out and found my love for the ocean, and then eventually married her, and started to live down here forever. It's been
You
so
married her?
long. I'm married to the ocean. You know, we're
What
a long time, bro.
So many questions.
Can I
So
just
many
Yeah, we
questions.
can get into it later, bro. There's,
if you're married to the ocean, I've been in your wife a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a very open relationship,
Oh,
open waters.
jeez.
You know what I
But you knew
mean?
that was gonna come on. Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I'm
Exactly.
trying to say here is, you know, even in inner cities, let's say you don't got a park or you don't got a beach anywhere around you, I can guarantee you stepped on a plastic wrapper and thought nothing of it. Listen, it's right on your foot.
Yeah.
Pick it up, put it in your pocket,
Yeah.
put it in the trash that's 2 feet away from you. You know, if you can see it, you need to get rid of it. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's somebody
Agreed.
else's. You know, you don't even need to shame them. I'm not saying go and confront somebody or anything like that. Just be that guardian angel for the oceans. You know what I mean? Like, if you see
Yes.
the danger that is in the pollution that is every single minute of every single day happening all over the world, you know, and we are complacent with just somebody else will get it. You know, I'm in Walmart parking lot. Man, they pay somebody to do this.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, nobody's doing it.
No.
Nobody's doing it. They're using a leaf blower to get it off of their property.
They
So if
blow it
anything, by
onto
you
the next
ignoring
person's
it,
property.
yeah, you ignoring it is going to make it worse because it's just
Yeah,
going to go
you laugh,
even
but
more
I've seen it
directly.
happen.
I
That's what
agree.
happens. That's what happens. So
So what?
again, I cannot restate it any clearer. If you see the trash, pick it up. I don't care what you got to do. Teach your
Okay.
children's to do it safely. Again, wear some gloves or something. Pick up the trash wherever you see it.
Right.
Yeah, and I've got this rule
Oh
that
no, I
like
agree with you.
a friend taught me this. It's like if you can kick it, you can pick it up. All
Exactly.
right.
Yes.
So if, like
Perfect.
if you're
Exactly.
walking down the street and you can kick a soda bottle or a soda can that's in front of you, if you can kick it, you can pick it up and throw it in the trash. And that like they had taught their son that and stuff, and that's something I'm going to teach my son when he's old enough, or my both my sons when they're old enough to know better. Is it's, if you can, if you see that piece of trash and you can you feel inclined to kick it or play with it, pick it up and throw it in the garbage can where it should be.
You know,
Absolutely.
we started this live stream off talking about the travesty in Ohio. With the chemicals, and it just gets me. It gets me thinking. I mean, what about the small travesties that happen every day? And unfortunately, I understand it. You have agriculture, farmers using chemicals and pesticides, and
The
Hmm.
because
monocrops.
and that's
Yes, monocrops
actually,
is a
I
big
mean,
problem. No rotations.
it they're bigger in there. That's a bigger issue on a long-term basis than that one Ohio train wreck. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like a lot of our native
Sure.
species that are endangered
Yeah,
now is because of agriculture and
yeah,
siltation in
Hmm.
creeks and stuff. That
yeah,
these some of these fish might be only endemic to
yeah.
this
You
particular
know,
section of this
well,
particular
even
creek,
and
and that
even
happens to
yeah,
be
Agreed.
100 miles from a farm that's
yeah,
causing all this siltation. That's going to
and even
destroy the
that, yeah,
natural processes in this creek. And these
yeah, and
fish
not
ain't,
even
these fish rely on these gravel beds to breed in that are all
yeah,
covered in silt and sand now, and they don't
and not
have
even.
breeding grounds.
I mean, not only agriculture, but in the suburbs with the roundups and the grass this feeders and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Basically, I'm saying
Yeah.
like there's so much more going on a regular basis, that we just don't even think about. We don't even, I mean, the farmers, I feel for the farmers because they're stuck in a very tough situation. Yeah, I can do it the old natural way, and I will have to wait longer for the same product that Eddie down the farm next door is getting faster, bigger, less
Hmm.
bugs. And he's using, genetically modified this and spraying this and putting that in. So as a farmer, you're like, man, I gotta feed my kids, but this guy using that stuff is making it and pushing me out I'm gonna have to get in the game too, unfortunately. But
Right.
you know, it would take, or like even we was talking, I was even saying like, how did nobody look at a train full of chemicals and didn't go, hold up, wait, you know what's the safety precautions if something happens? Maybe we shouldn't put that many on there, but as long as we're just, you know, worried about getting through the day and paying rent, we don't have time to be advocates about all this stuff. You know what I mean? You worried
I
about
think
your job. You're gonna. I'm
Oh
sure
no,
there's
I know
people at the
exactly what you
chemical plant.
mean.
I'm sure there's people at the chemical plant and at the train loading docks that looked at it and was like, "That's not right. That shouldn't happen." But what are you gonna say? Who you? Hey, boss, I don't believe this is ethical. Well, then see you later. I'll hire somebody else. You know, go be
in
ethical
these
at home.
situations,
Right.
these situations that you're talking about here, where people feel small in such a big world of such grand scale
Yeah,
that we cannot comprehend how to affect it. And this is where I say, how's the saying go? It's like tend the garden that you can reach. Like what
Agreed.
can we do right now? We
Yeah.
can reduce our plastic consumption. We can pick up our trash that we can see, that we can touch, that we can contribute to. You know, we can volunteer when we have time and when it's feasible. We can spread the word and spread you know, the kind of kind-hearted actions that we preach here to others. We can grow this community. And I think one thing that we'll end on here, is, you know, we're doing our part, even just sitting here talking about it, contributing to the conversation about why this Ohio train disaster had even happened in the first place, because of negligence, because of
Hmm.
greed, because of incompetence, and because people did not care about the effects that it had on the people and the environment of that area, and of whatever else it was standing in the way of them making a dollar. And I think that's the point that we've heard time and time again, that the dollar is more important than the
yeah.
health of the creatures that live on this planet. And it's got to stop. And I thank
Well,
you guys all for coming up
Agreed.
here today. I think it's a good note to leave on, that we are again contributing here. I think we even had somebody in chat that lived in Ohio. I'm glad we were able to reach them, and they were able to come up and listen. Hopefully, other viewers will look at this stream in the future. And I hope that you guys join me in the future for other videos. I think this channel is going to be mostly about how we can contribute to ending pollution, to stopping this monster that
Wonderful.
is the corrupt companies infiltrating, you know, this ecosystem, and how we can do our small part, because it's going to take all of us, not just Funk and Lady R and Kenny and Diverman. It's going to take all of us to
Hmm.
do our part, and then maybe these guys will listen, you know.
I
Anything you
agree
guys
with you
want to contribute
wholeheartedly.
before we take off?
Lady R.
I did want to interquickly.
Hmm.
You know, there were so many other points that I wish that, you know, I was able to bring up in discussion. And there are so many people that, you know, remind me of similar things that we had discussed, and perhaps we can further elaborate on those on our next session, perhaps. But I also wanted to just go ahead and extend an invite to Aquafunk, Kenny, and Diverman, you guys directly. I am going to be starting a channel coming up where we're going to be talking about socio-political issues that are possibly involved not only within the aquarium hobby, but also within environmental impact. So if you
Yeah,
guys ever want to be a part of a panel,
I'm
we'll
in.
have a select topic that, you know, we'll choose.
Yeah,
I can even give you guys advancement, you know, of what the topic will be. You guys can research it for yourselves
yeah,
and, you know,
Absolutely.
present both facts and emotional sides
yeah.
as well. That way can further illustrate these points to a more basal level, perhaps. You know, have a broader outreach rather than just stating out a bunch of technical terms, which are good, don't get me wrong. But
Mhm.
if we're really going to be successful in our communication processes and to tell people why these initiatives are so imperative, we need to start from the ground level. So I extend that an invitation to you guys.
For sure. Lady
Yeah,
R, where
count me
can
in.
we find you on your social medias real quick?
Fishfam.link.
I actually have started anything yet on my YouTube channel, but you can subscribe to Lady Rorschach. Lady Rorschach. I can tell that I'm tired this evening. At youtube.com. And I do have an Instagram page that's involved with my Etsy shop as well. Totally unrelated with that, but you can find that on fishfam.link. As well as any other formats to contact me. And I'm open to any sort of discussions that you guys have. And feel free to share some ideas with me as well, topics that we might want to discuss.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Let's hear from Kenny, and we'll close it out on funk.
Sounds good.
The only thing I wanted to touch on is like, if you the whole thing, like going, if you're out somewhere in public, like it doesn't take a lot of effort to clean up a little bit of trash. And it might not be your trash, but it's your world, and you can't change the whole world, but you can change your world. You know what I mean? And if everybody focuses on just changing their world around them, the whole world is going to change. And I think that's the bigger picture. Is don't try to change the whole world, just try to change the world around you.
Yeah.
That's it. Kenny, where can we
Amen.
find you? You got social medias or anything that you want to shout out, Kenny?
Yeah, all of my contact informations are on fishfam.link. I've got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My email is on there, so you can reach out to me on any of those platforms. And most people, I'll gladly give you my cell phone number. You can text me. I don't answer phone calls very often, but yeah, you can find all of my information on there. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Fishfam.link.
Aquafunk, if you would do us the honor of closing us out, my friend.
All right, so I've always been big on any issue, like we do the aquarium thing. I've always thought that YouTube was all about relativity. I try and do content that is relative to the people I'm trying to meet. We got a pretty good grasp of all the negative possibilities of this accident because we deal with similar stuff every day in our homes. So when you're talking to other people, I guess you got to try and figure out what they're into and how and see how everything connects. We have that luxury of seeing it firsthand. A lot of people don't. So if you can kind of get it through their heads by the stuff they enjoy, that's really the only way you can make it part of their lives instead of just a thing that happens in the world. That's the only way people are really going to wake up is when it affects them individually, directly. So
agreed.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Aquafunk, where can we find you?
YouTube and Instagram, Facebook is all under Aquafunk. I think Instagram is Aquafunk68. YouTube is Aquafunk, and same with Facebook. I don't really do much on Twitter, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming up. It's been a great discussion. I think we had a lot of great topics. We talked about some really important things. I hope the audience enjoyed everything we had to offer here. With our knowledge in the industry of fish keeping and just our insight into what we can provide. Never think that you're too small to make an impact. And I think that's one thing we can all take away from this discussion, whether it's by, picking up trash in your local parks, your local beach, or just at the parking lot of your, local restaurant or shopping center or something like that. It all contributes. The small pennies equal these millions of dollars that these corporations are seizing to, further pollute our ocean. So we got to pick up every penny that we can in terms of, the trash that's on the floor to build that up. And, I hope to do this again soon. You can find me, The Amazing Diverman, on Instagram at The Amazing Diverman. Obviously, you found my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We're going to be doing more videos. This is the first of many topics that we're going to be covering. I don't quite have a schedule yet, but I will do my best to try to cover, at the very least, some current events from time to time. I'd really like this channel to focus on, pollution, the impact it has on the ocean, waterways, rivers, streams, and such, wildlife. And one thing I want to end on is it's up to you. It's up to us. It's up to the world, the people that live in it, to make it a better place. So do your part, or I'm coming after you. Thank you so much, you guys.
I just want to say one more thing real quick
Thank you,
before we end.
guys.
Is
Sure.
Caprice Parks in the chat has been commenting. I don't think any of us have been really looking at chat, but I think
I've been
I
trying to pay attention
apologize,
in
Caprice,
between.
if you feel
Yeah.
left out.
Thank you
but
for
we
Caprice
haven't
from
really been
Ohio.
looking at chat too much. Yeah.
Yes.
And,
He said some good
so
things
I
in
just
here.
wanted
Go
to
green. Hopefully he's doing, or he or she is doing all right over there. And our hearts go out to everybody out in Ohio that are dealing with that, not just in Palestine over there, but in the surrounding area. We know it's a big disaster, bigger than the news outlets are letting on. But yeah, we'll cover more in the future. Maybe we'll even revisit this topic as more updates come in and our news sources that are available. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.